fearless leader, Tyler Jones, here with you on this edition of Ravens Rundown. Thanks for joining us. We are taking a look at the roster bubble candidates. Who is fighting for their football lives to stay on the Baltimore Ravens roster? Because we would hate to see them get deported to the CFL or UFL or anything like that. Who is on the verge of potentially getting caught after spending numerous years with the Ravens? We'll dissect it more coming up on today's show. Before we do, Ravens fans for 5 years or longer, I want to know, are you one of the OGs? If you are, go ahead and like today's video. If not, if you've been a fan for a shorter amount of time, and that's okay too, we welcome everybody to the flock around here. It doesn't matter if you just became a Ravens fan recently, if you've been a fan since the beginning, whether you're from Baltimore or not. We one welcome, one all, right? I want to know. Just chime in the comment section. Tell me how long you've been a Ravens fan in that comment section. Like the video if it's been for 5 years or longer. If not, comment how long you've been a fan. We'll get started with today's show. Let's begin with Tylan Wallace, the wide receiver, who's still very young, 24 years old. But now he enters his 4th season with the Baltimore Ravens. And I got to say, I've been a big fan of Tylan Wallace for a long time. I loved him when he was at Oklahoma State and was arguably the best receiver in college football there with the Cowboys and that dynamic offense under Mike Gundy. He showed a lot of potential. And I thought his game would translate better to the National Football League, but he hasn't really shown it at all for that matter and hasn't even really been able to earn playing time to get on the field. In fact, in the Ravens situation here, if Tylan Wallace is on the field with this receiving core this season, that's actually probably not a good sign unless he just miraculously comes out of his shell, if you will. He's been solid on special teams, but what is the need for Tylan Wallace at this point? If he's never going to fully develop here, and you got, Deontay Hardy, who they brought in this offseason to be kind of a return specialist, if you will, then we might see the days of Tylan Wallace numbered at this point in time. It's unfortunate. I like Tylan Wallace. I want to see him succeed and play at a high level for a long time, but it's just seems like the end of the road may be near for Tylan Wallace at this point. I mean, here's the stats here, folks. In 3 seasons, these numbers aren't lying to you. You get to see for yourself. In 3 seasons, 7 catches for 67 yards in 37 games played. That's not great. He did have that walk-off touchdown when he filled in on special teams this past year against the Rams in overtime. That was cool. But other than that, that's been the entire highlight reel of Tylan Wallace's time with the Baltimore Ravens. If I were to put a video out of the highlights of Tylan Wallace's time in Baltimore, it'd be that one play. That'd be it. So Tylan Wallace, it might be Jover for the Ravens wide receiver. I hate to say it, but that time might be near. Will the Ravens keep Tylan Wallace? Is it over for the former Oklahoma State Cowboy? Weigh in our pinned comment today. Let us know what you think. Y for yes, in for no, if Tylan Wallace is back in Baltimore when the season begins. We have the best Ravens coverage you're going to find anywhere on the interwebs here, folks, as we are bringing you daily Baltimore Ravens news and rumors. Anytime the Ravens make a transaction of sorts, whether it's a trade, free agent signing, we bring you a video as quick as we can here on the channel. And we also do watch parties during the season as well. Your Baltimore Ravens off-season headquarters is a Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Never miss a moment. Subscribe now for free. YouTube.com/RavensTV. We covered rookie minicamp. Mandatory minicamp's going to be here soon. OTAs, all that. We'll talk about it all here on the channel. Subscribe now for free. All right, let's talk about Jalyn Armour-Davis at the corner position. Same age as Tylan Wallace, 24 years old. And I'll say this, the corner room for the Baltimore Ravens, drastic improvement overnight in this year's draft with getting Nate Wiggins with the 30th overall selection out of Clemson, who Eric DeCosta said they did not expect him to be available when they picked there. That was a huge get for Baltimore. Huge. And then They also picked up T.J. Tampa out of Iowa State, who some people thought was going to be a first-round receiver, slips to the 4th round. Just a steal to get T.J. Tampa, right? And so now you bring those guys in, and you wonder, okay, who's the odd man out in this equation? And Jalyn Armour-Davis might end up being the odd man out here, folks, because what we've seen with him, his best way to contribute is on special teams. And do you really want to keep him around just as a special teams guy? There's plenty of guys, I think, that could do what Jalyn Armour-Davis has been doing the last couple of seasons for the Baltimore Ravens. It's put up or shut up time for Jalyn Armour-Davis at this point. 12 tackles in 2 seasons. Has only played in a total of 12 games in that stretch. Jalyn Armour-Davis, it ain't looking pretty. I can tell you that right now. Something is going to need to turn around. He is going to need to show something that we have not seen in his entire time in Baltimore at this point in time. So we'll see what the future holds for Jalyn Armour-Davis. But I can tell you, it ain't looking good for him with what we've seen from Nate Wiggins, who had a good rookie minicamp, and now having T.J. Tampa into the fold and all that. Doesn't look great. Who's a player the Ravens should cut? I want you to be mean. Let me know. Who is somebody the Ravens should cut and move on from and send off to the CFL or the UFL or all that? Way in the comments section, give me a name that comes to mind you think the Ravens should move on from. One more name to get to in a moment, but first, Nate Wiggins jerseys are on sale now. If you bought that Jalyn Armour-Davis jersey a couple of years ago, trade that in. Go get that Nate Wiggins jersey right now. We have men's versions, women's versions, all sorts of different shapes and sizes. And we also have different colors as well, the home uniform, the road uniform. Go see for yourself. Chatsports.com/Wiggins to see for yourself. And the link is in the comments and description of today's video. Check it out now. Chatsports.com/Wiggins. Get yours right now. These things are going hot. You'll have the number that he wears for Baltimore. It won't be the number 1. You can go get it. Chatsports.com/Wiggins. Last one on this list. I hate putting this guy on this list, to be honest with you, because I think he's got all sorts of untapped potential. And I still believe, but I'm getting a little skeptical here. Charlie Kolar, tight end from Iowa State, entering his 3rd season in the NFL. I was so hopeful when he arrived with the Baltimore Ravens. And the player comp that he kept getting prior to even being drafted by Baltimore, ironically enough, was Mark Andrews. A lot of the experts kept saying he was Mark Andrews 2.0. Well, then he had the sports hernia issue that forced him to miss most of his first season. And then last year just didn't really do a lot either. The clock is running out on Charlie Kolar at this point in time. And I get it. It's tough when you got 2 very good tight ends in front of you with Mark Andrews, one of the best tight ends in football, Isaiah Likely, the best number 2 tight end in the NFL. And then not to mention, as much as I like Todd Monken, the Ravens OC, one thing that I didn't like last year was we didn't see enough 12 personnel where both tight ends were on the field together and maximizing things. I feel like that could be a great way to use Charlie Kolar to rotate with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely to get playing time, because I think he can be a good pass catcher and be a difference maker, but just hasn't put it all together just yet. 17 games played in 2 seasons, a total of 11 catches, 136 yards and a touchdown. That's it for Charlie Kolar at this point in time. So while I like Charlie Kolar, I think he's a talented player. I think he's got potential. He's still got to go out there and show it. He's got to go out there and prove it. Of these 3 players, I like him by far the most, and I believe in him the most of these 3. He would be the one where I would feel like if the Ravens did move on from him, somebody else could pick up and he could be still a pretty decent football player. So I'm hoping that Charlie Kolar comes through, but I'm skeptical because we haven't seen it in these first 2 years. Will the Ravens cut Charlie Kolar? Type C for cut, K for keep. Scotty Washington's right there on his heels as well. He's going to make things interesting competing for playing time. We'll see how it plays out. For more Ravens coverage, subscribe now to a Ravens Rundown. as we bring you the best Ravens coverage you won't find anywhere else. YouTube.com/RavensTV. Subscribe now for free. I'm Tyler Jones, and I will see you next time.